By the end of 2006, MediaVision had created 5 Wild Arms games, 4 mainline titles, and a remake of the first one called Alter Code F. By that time, the PlayStation 2's glory days were in the rearview mirror, and the PlayStation 3 was released in November of that year. Even so, MediaVision had spent the previous year working on a follow-up to their RPG franchise. The result was Wild Arms 5, which came out in August of 2007. Even though many gamers had already moved on to the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 at this point, some others stayed behind to enjoy the latest offering. But was it worth it? And how did it match up to the other Wild Arms games? In this video, I'll give you a full overview of the game and answer those very questions. Before I get into all that though, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let me know your memories from Wild Arms 5 in the comments section below. Wild Arms 5 throws you into the role of Dean, a young and eager dreamer who aspires to leave his village of Capo Branco and become a golem hunter, which from what I can tell is some kind of archaeologist. When he ventures into the mountains with his friend Rebecca, the two see a giant golem arm fall from the sky and into a cave. Inside, they find the hand-clutching mysterious woman who has amnesia. The only 2 things she can remember is that her name is Avril and the words Johnny Appleseed. The 2 arms Avril was holding are given to Dean and Rebecca, who decide to solve the mysteries of Avril's past. The adventure basically takes off from there, and in the process of it, you'll find 6 total playable characters, each with their own backstories that fit pretty well into the Wild Arms 5 universe. And those drifters wandering around? Yeah, they're still here and in this one too. There are also several other recurring themes from the other Wild Arms games, such as the setting in Filgaia, the existence of ancient weaponry called arms, and the Guardians. But outside of those things, the story is distinct enough as well so as not to feel like a complete rehash. There were a few things about the Varuni government storyline in particular that surprised me in a good way, so I'll give it props for that. In a lot of ways, Wild Arms 5 looks and feels like a direct sequel to Wild Arms 4, and indeed, many of the gameplay mechanics closely match those of its predecessor. The most obvious one I think is the combat, which is largely carried over from Wild Arms 4. On the surface, it looks nearly exactly the same as it did there, but it actually represents a pretty big evolution of it. This is because in Wild Arms 5, your characters can only be placed in hexagons, and each one holds a maximum of 3. Sharing a hexagon with another character not only allows for special combo attacks, but also provides different elemental effects. For instance, if you move into a hexagon with poison, your character will suffer from it. But if they move out of that hexagon and into another, you won't carry that ailment with you. In addition, characters and enemies can both move and take an action in the same turn, and attacks target everything within a hex rather than individual characters or enemies. And if all those changes didn't confuse you yet, each character's hit points are now completely filled after each battle. There are a few other differences too, such as battle parties of 3 rather than 4, but the experience is pretty similar overall, and improved in my opinion. The dungeons are filled with platforming elements that we first saw brought into the series in Wild Arms 4, but this one also adds more puzzles as well. You'll have to do things like push blocks around, hit switches in the right order, and even use your arms to shoot out orbs and other objects. Not only are the puzzles more imaginative here, they're also fun, and each dungeon has unique ones. There's something to be said for that. Series composer Michiku Naruke was still at MediaVision while Wild Arms 5 was developed, but she was assigned to other projects and never made any contributions to the game. The soundtrack of Wild Arms 5 brings back Masato Kouda, who had worked on previous Wild Arms games, along with Noriyasu Agamatsu, a newcomer to the series. And despite the change in personnel, I actually think this is the best soundtrack in the series since the first game. That's because it brings back a lot of the whistling sounds and western flavor that really made the first title special. In the end, Wild Arms 5 is a step up from Wild Arms 4. I like most of the changes to the combat system, and having your hit points refilled after each battle was a nice touch that streamlined the gameplay. I guess you could say it also trivialized some of the game too, especially at the beginning, but it's still a change that's held up well over time. The story was well constructed, and the characters are more lovable than they were in Wild Arms 4 as well. I still can't quite recommend Wild Arms 5 over the first two Wild Arms games, but it still represents the franchise well and is packed with great lore. So what did you think about Wild Arms 5, and how do you think it compares to the rest of the series? Let me know in a comment below. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell below for more retro gaming content. Also, big shout out to my Patreon patrons and YouTube members for all of your support. If you're watching this video and you want early access to the videos I produce and other perks like they receive, please consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon patron or via the YouTube Join feature.